ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. So we're reading from the commentary on this hadith of Salman radiallahu anhu. And then we're going to look into the lives of some of the contemporary scholars who are not that far back. So amongst them we see there are many who do find time to do all these ibadat during these precious moments. So now the author is talking about his teacher. Says, I personally had observed my Ustad Maulana Khalil Ahmad Saharanpuri rahmatullah alayhi during many a Ramadan. He was a weak person of advanced age, but in spite of these drawbacks, he used to read 1¼ juz of the Quran in Nafil Salat after Maghrib. So 1¼ para after Maghrib. Thereafter, he used to have meals for about half an hour. After performing all other necessities, he used to perform Taraweeh for about 2½ hours when he was in India. And when he was in Medina Munawwara, the duration was about 3 hours. Thereafter, he used to sleep for about 2 or 3 hours, according to the season. Then he used to recite the Quran again in Tahajjud Salat until about half an hour before Fajr. Then he ate his Sahri. From that time until Fajr, he remained busy with hifz or reciting, wazaif, meaning doing his dhikr. With the grayness of dawn, he performed Fajr Salah. Thereafter, he remained in meditation, muraqabah, until Ishraq. So again, G.
What does dawn
Dawn is the time when Fajr starts. So you'll see that it's when it's pitch black, it's completely dark at night, and when dawn comes, then you'll see like a line of white in the horizon. So much good. Okay. So then, yes, that was something about dawn. So with the grayness of dawn, he performed Fajr Salat. So when he would see that, and Allah talks about this in the Quran, that until the white line becomes distinct from the black line, or from the white line of the dawn becomes clear. So we have had the fun of going and actually doing some sightings of Fajr. This was while I was in Vancouver. Yeah, your nights are short. Your days are short too. It's a long process, but alhamdulillah, with some benefit. We actually see these phenomena which the Quran talks about, which would have been much more common, when someone who's living in the desert and there is no light pollution. Of course, we just live in a place where there's nothing but light pollution, so we have to go far out of the city to even see the dawn coming in. Anyways, so that was talking about the dawn. That's when he would perform his Fajr Salat, meaning at the beginning time. Thereafter, he remained in meditation until Ishraq. So there are different types of dhikr that a person can do. One is, he'll say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. One is that, he will just remain in thoughts about the greatness of Allah, the power of Allah, and so on. So this we call muraqabah. So he would remain like that until Ishraq, meaning until sun rose. Having performed Ishraq, the salat, which is like about 15-ish minutes after sunrise, he used to rest for about an hour. Thereafter, he used to write his famous book, Badr al-Majhud, commentary on Abu Dawud. So now the author is being humble, because Badr al-Majhud was written, or was the mastermind behind it is Maulana Khalil Ahmad Saharanpuri, but he was quite weak at that time, so he did not actually do too much writing. The author here, who was one of his special students, used to go, and so Maulana Khalil Ahmad Saharanpuri would tell him, check this book, check that book, check that book, bring this section, bring that section. And he would be the one who would go, and he would go out and he would get these books, and then he would compile the different parts of it. So he's attributing everything to his teacher, but he had a huge effort in it also. But this we know because we know his life. Otherwise, he's just downplaying his own work. Alhamdulillah, humility is good, but now we can call him out on it because we can let others know that this is how he did it and this is the humility as he's presenting the work of his teacher. So then normally he attended lectures. He would spend some time. So thereafter he used to write his famous kitab, Badr al-Majhud, commentary on Abu Dawud. Then he normally attended to letters and dictating replies up to midday. Then he used to rest up to Dhuhr Salat. Between Dhuhr and Asr, he used to recite the Quran. From Asr Salat until Maghrib, he used to be busy with tasbih and meeting guests. When he completed Badr al-Majhud, then part of the morning used to be spent in tilawat and studying dini books, especially Badr al-Majhud and Wafa al-Wafa. This was his daily program for Nafil Ibadah throughout the year. In Ramadan, however, he used to spend a bit more time in his Ibadah, making the rakat longer. So he's already performing quite a few rakat and he's reading a couple of paras every day in his Nafil Salat. He's reading quite a few paras in his Nafil Salat every day, and in Ramadan he bumps that up a bit. For the ordinary person to observe the special programs the pious elders had for Ramadan would be difficult. Shaykh al-Hind Maulana Mahmud al-Hassan rahmatullah alayhi used to remain in Nafil Salat from after Taraweeh until Fajr. So he would already pray his Taraweeh, which is sometimes quite extensive. And I still remember the good old days when Asiya was stuck in it along, and she would pray 20 rakat along with the older people, and some of the other kids who might have had to pray with us would run away. So that was quite a few years back. Alhamdulillah. So look, right after praying this 20 rakat, which would take maybe about an hour and a half, then what would he do? He would get right back to his salat. So he used to remain in Nafil Salat from after Taraweeh until Fajr. So right after he's finished the 20 rakat of Taraweeh, he gets back into a Nafil Salat and he remains like that until Fajr. Some time was spent listening to the Quran recited by various Huffaz, one after the other. Mullah Shah Abdul Rahim Raipuri Rahmatullah alayhi remained busy with tilawat, recitation of the Quran day and night throughout Ramadan. There used to be no time for attending to correspondence and visitors. So there was no time for attending to correspondence, and visitors were met reluctantly. Only his special attendants were allowed to wait on him after Taraweeh for a short period while he drank a cup of tea. So these are a couple of our elders. The author of the book is like my Dada teacher. So my teacher of Bukhari, the author here was his teacher. So these are people who are not that far off. I'm not talking about Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Obviously, we always do look at Sahaba radiallahu anhum, but sometimes, we hold them at a different level. Say, wow, these were Sahaba. How do you expect us to behave like Sahaba? But these were people who were there, in the 90s, who passed away. The author here, he passed away in the late 1980s, early 1990s, around that time. So these are people during our time, and this is the kind of effort they would make in Ramadan. So he mentions advice. The reason for mentioning the manner in which our pious elders spent their Ramadan is not that we may just read without deriving any benefit or pass a casual remark. So we say, oh, mashallah, did you hear my teacher used to do like, okay, your teacher used to, what do you do? Like, okay, yeah. So it's not just to talk about them, because this has also become, a new trend that people say, oh, my sheikh does this and my sheikh does that. Okay, great, your sheikh does, what do you do? It's not about just talking about what others do. So it's not just to pass a casual remark. It is written with the object that we in our way build up courage and to the best of our ability try to copy and follow their noble examples. Every pious elder's program had its particular specialty. How wonderful would it be if those who are not forced by worldly necessities try their utmost to mend their religious life in this 1 month after having wasted 11 months of the year. Sometimes this is our case, that when we look at our schedule, say that we do have, you know, 4 or 5 hours of free time on a daily basis, then that's the time we're not spending in school, not spending in work. Then how much of that 4 or 5 hours are we devoting for our akhirah, right? Sometimes you say, oh, we're spending so much time. Okay, how much time are we spending? And how much time are we spending in other things? Little necessities aside, right? Say that a person is working his 8 hours. Okay, fine. There are some people even today who will try to take off the entire month of Ramadan. You know, and that's a very good intention, a good thing that a person tries to do. Whether that's manageable for everyone, maybe not, probably not. But in whatever free time we do have, we try to maximize the amount of time we're devoting to Deen. So we should not be wasting the time in the other months of the year, but especially not in Ramadan. And this we take stock of ourselves. So he mentions, as for those who have to be at work at fixed time, what difficulty will it be for them if they, at least in Ramadan, spend time from Fajr until their time of duty in reciting the Quran? After all, for our worldly needs, we do find time in spite of office hours. So, it's a question of priorities. For his worldly needs, we find time. We have stuff to do, but we make time, right? It's not a question, oh, I don't have time. Okay, some people really don't have time and they put off their worldly necessities because it's one or the other. But generally, there's not one or the other. It's something that someone could make time for. So what about for our dini things? We should make time for them. For those engaged in farming, well, that's not really us, generally. So I'll just skip that. Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam received his scriptures on the first and third of the sacred month. So, okay, they're talking about recitation of Quran. So although we're not talking about farming, or we're not involved in farming, but we'll just read this. For those engaged in farming, who normally are not bound to others, nothing prevents them from reciting the Quran on their farm, or adjusting their daily routine. Then come the businessmen, shopkeepers, and merchants. Nothing prevents them in Ramadan from reciting the Quran during their shop hours, or cutting short trading time in order to make time for recitation thereof. After all, there is a very strong link between Ramadan and the tilawat of the Quran. There's a strong link between Ramadan and the revelation of the Quran, the recitation of the Quran. Almost all Allah's great scriptures were revealed in this month. Similarly, in this month, the Quran was brought down from the Lawh al-Mahfuz to the Sama al-Dunya, the heavens of the earth, from where it was revealed in portions over a period of 23 years. Ji Yusuf. Ji. Nabi Ibrahim alayhi received his scriptures on the first and third of this sacred month. Nabi Dawood alayhi received the Zabur on the 12th or 18th. Nabi Musa alayhi received his Torah on the 6th. Nabi Isa alayhi received the Injil on the 12th or the 13th. From this we note the great connection between the divine scriptures and the month of Ramadan. For this reason, as much tilawat of the Quran as possible should be made during this month. This was the practice of our mashayikh, of our scholars. Jibreel alayhi salam used to recite the whole Quran to our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the month of Ramadan. In some reports it is stated that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to recite and Jibreel alayhi salam used to listen. From joining these reports, the ulama have said that it is mustahab, it is preferable to read the Quran in such a manner that while one recites, the other listens. Thereafter another recites while others listen. So recite the Quran as much as possible. Whatever time remains thereafter should not be wasted. Inshallah, we will continue, inshallah, tomorrow. And tomorrow is very likely going to be the first night of Ramadan, but inshallah at 7 o'clock, as usual, same place, same time, inshallah. We get back and we'll finish the commentary on this hadith. Allah give us tawfiq to use our time properly and to connect, to spend our days and nights in ibadah and to strengthen our connection to the Quran. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu